All right, welcome back to Joe's Corner featuring the Shirtless Chef. Today we're going to be making an ancient bread, and I think people call it Samoon over the years, but we're going to call it a boat bread. So we're going to make this cool boat bread because it's going to look a little bit like a boat shape when it comes out. This is indeed the fanciest thing we have in this house. You think the Ninja was fancy from one of the other videos, but my wife likes to bake, so one year I just went for it, Black Friday and all. So, but here's the thing. I used to do this bread by hand, and it doesn't come out as fluffy as it does, but it still works by hand. You just have to knead it for a little while. Don't over knead it. A lot of people say knead for 8 to 10 minutes. I would think 2 to 3 minutes, as long as it's good texture, would be good for this bread, because you want it to be kind of fluffy. This bread's great for going with stews, anything that's like a hearty, soupy thing, or you can just make a roast beef sandwich out of it too. You just put it down the middle. You can make like subs out of it. I know people that do both. And normally I don't really give measurements out, so this one's pretty particular. We're gonna use 4 cups of flour. Baking's always different. Give me a stovetop all day. I'm cool. But baking, man, you got to measure that out. You really do. It's a disaster if you don't. I use this King Arthur flour if at all possible. It's unbleached. Probably still not the best thing you can use. There's a flour out there that's got more of the natural proteins from the wheat and everything. That's probably the one I would recommend, but I can't give you the name because probably have to order it online. You got 4 cups of flour there. We're gonna get a tablespoon of sugar out. I try to use organic cane sugar when possible too. The regular granulated sugar, I don't know, it's probably not good for anybody, is it? I'm gonna put a half a tablespoon of salt. That's a little bit more. It ain't gonna hurt anybody. We'll see what comes out in my thing here. We're going to have 1.5 tablespoons of yeast. A little bit more ain't going to hurt anybody. I'll probably have to do one of these description deals where I put the recipe in for people's convenience. I normally just eyeball everything. The water ratio is important. We do like 1 1/4 cups of water. I will tell you that I really do. I like doing things in real time. I do. But I don't think anybody wants to watch this machine work for 8 minutes or so. So anyway, we got all our ingredients in there. I do kind of keep a spatula on hand here just to get the initial mixing going and make sure it's off the sides, things like that. But then after that, it really is just going to mix for a good solid, 8 to 10 minutes. You'll see the consistency gets nice and thick. Make sure that's in there secure. There's a specific head on the blend, the KitchenAid you gotta use. It would be like this bread maker head. This is the weirdest thing for me using a machine to do this, but honestly it turns out pretty good. And I'm not going to turn it on like super fast, not right away, like maybe 2 just to kind of get things going a bit. But at some point I will turn this sucker up to maybe 6 or 7, 8, whatever it is on there. Because it's really going to beat it up real good. Now here's where I kind of have to like get the sides down in there a little bit. It's just not going to get involved. I turn it off before I put the thing in there, trust me. Otherwise you just get a lot of banging and clanking. You don't want to risk injury. It doesn't seem like it's going to do anything at first, but man, it does. And truthfully, we might just do this all the way on camera, I guess. Little bits flying out. Crank it up to 6. At first I thought, this is so violent. What is it doing to my bread? Then I thought, oh man, the machine can't handle it. But it's what it's designed for. It actually does handle it. This particular mixture still looks a little bit dry, so I'm going to add just a bit more water here. Maybe another 1/4 of a cup, and we'll test it. And you can kind of add water as you go too. It's okay. If it looks like it's too dry and it's not clumping into one clump, then it's probably good to add just a little bit of water. I would add less water before I add more water too. Like I went with a 1/4 of a cup, and it was like barely a 1/4 of a cup. Now it's starting to stick. Now it's starting to clump off real good. So I guess we'll do 1.5 cups of water. But always when making bread, err on the side of caution. Too much water will ruin your bread. That's on 4, let's crank it up a bit. I'll let it work on 8. It's a bit much, it's going to fly out. Let's put it back to 6. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so it's been about, I don't know, 4 minutes or so since we walked away. And now you'll notice that the blender is just going around and it's not fighting it anymore. It's just super smooth. That's about when it's done. So we're going to go ahead and stop it. I'll give it a second or so, but now our dough is really well beaten, so to speak. This sucker gave it a working. And you'll notice the texture of the dough is super smooth. It's just really smooth. So now we need to roll it out. It's gonna be our next step in the process, I hope. If not, then I'm sorry. Sometimes things come to me as I'm doing it. This is already, like, there we go. It always makes me nervous popping the bowl out. I never want to wreck anything. Of course, this is Joe's corner. We don't have much space. Of course, with any good surface here, we want a flat surface where we can roll these out by hand. Nice and dry. You definitely don't want any moisture when you're rolling out your bread. And we will need some flour down here just in case. You really don't want anything to stick. You don't have to overdo it with the flour. I'm sure you guys, if you made bread, you get it. But I'll keep that there just in case. So depending on the size of the loaves that you want, I will say I'm going to make them smaller because I think they cook better. Essentially, you could let these rise a bit, but we're going to punch them down and they're going to rise. So you kind of make this little ball out of them. You can see that clearly, like a little ball. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put your hands together a little bit like a triangle. And then you're kind of just roll it out. He's a little bit smaller than that, but the edges are going to get small. And so you're going to make like a little bit of a boat bread. Now these can be just any size you want because they're going to fluff up. It's the thickness you want. The thickness is about that. I think making minis is kind of cool. I like it. But I've seen them go just full size too, like big giant loaves. So essentially you're going to pat this down and just round out the edges a little bit and then get a little boat bread. Yeah, it's like a little boat. You just need a little sail. We're going to put them on some parchment paper. Again, this is all real time. I know I stepped away for the blending process a bit, but I literally don't have anything laid out. I'm just grabbing it as we go. That way y'all can see just how much time and effort will go into this so you don't bite off more than you can chew or anything like that. So there's one. I will let you know that I'm going to keep these covered as we go. It helps it rise. Maybe a little moisture on the towel, even kind of a damp towel. It's always good for letting things rise. So we're just going to kind of repeat the process here as we go. See how many pieces come out of 4 cups of flour. Need some more light, let's see. Lights on. This is probably my favorite bread. They sold it in a lot of places when I was growing up, and it's hard to find now, so I had to learn how to make it Actually, you have to let it rise. Once you punch it down like this, and it'll rise, and then 8 minutes later, we'll punch it down again and let it rise. It's a little bit of a process. It's not a quick thing. Some of the things I do is quick. Some things they take a little more care, a little bit more time. A little bit too much there. It's important to have your oven at 500 degrees for this. Speaking of process, preheat your oven before you start doing any of this. It'll take forever for it to get up to 500 degrees. And it's absolutely necessary. After you pull out a pan full of bread, and usually I use a pizza stone, but I'm going to use a pan for this bread so it doesn't burn on the bottom. But yeah, absolutely need the heat. And when you change the pan out, go ahead and let the heat build in the oven for a few minutes again before you just swap the new ones in. They'll bake anywhere between, these are smaller, so I would check them at 16 minutes or so. But it could take anywhere up to 22, 26. It really depends on your oven. That's one thing that's very particular is ovens. Everyone's is different. Even if they're the same manufacturer. I don't want to laugh at that, but it seems like everybody's oven's different. You'll watch a video, you'll tell me, I'll tell you 500 degrees, and sometimes the oven don't even heat up that much. I should do a video on pita bread too. I can make a large pita bread that's just about, you just roll it out and man, is it just tender and fresh, comes out of the oven. Pita bread only takes about 4 minutes to bake. This takes a little bit longer. It's thicker, it'll puff up. Oh, this bread's wonderful. Whenever I share it with people, it's unique and it's something that you just don't get anywhere. And the first bite is just goodness. Like you're like, oh my God, they're kind of thinking like this is good. And I really appreciate that. And I thank people for just being willing to try stuff and just checking it out. And you know, I wouldn't be bringing it to your attention if I thought it was bad. But this is one of those things that's really special, in my opinion. Takes a little bit more time than other breads, and yeah, depending. I mean, you gotta roll them out, and you gotta get the cool boat shape going. Especially if you got kids and stuff. Oh man, they love the boat. It's boat bread. You can easily double the batch if you need more. You can do like 8 cups of flour, 3 tablespoons of yeast, that kind of thing. I'll tell you how many pieces are on. I'll show you in a minute when we're done with this one. It's the last ball. And again, as much as I like to do stuff in real time, nobody wants to sit and watch this pan rise for 8 minutes and then pat down. So we'll probably cut away from it. Just think in your head, oh, that's 8 minutes when he cuts away. Okay, so we have 9 pieces of bread here out of 4 cups of flour. That's really cool. It's enough to share. And some people like 2, and like I said, if you need to double the batch, go ahead and double it. But we're going to cover it. It's going to rise. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pat it down when we come back. Okay, so it's been about 8 minutes, long enough for me to clean up everything. They don't rise like a ton, right? Like maybe my yeast isn't super like powerful right now. Maybe I need to get some new one, but like they rose a little bit. They definitely puffed up. They're gonna grow. This tray is barely enough space for this bread, but I'm gonna make it work. So we're gonna push them down like so, just with your fingers, which gives it a nice little imprint too, which is cool. And then we're literally going to do this again. We're going to wait 5 or 6 minutes. And they're going to go back and rise again a little bit. But here's the cool part. We're going to make this little like wash to go over them. So we're going to use this measuring cup. We're going to get some water and some sugar and some flour and stuff. I guess I could do that right now. A big part of these videos is you could do all of this with 2 feet of space. That's why it's Joe's Corner. You don't need much space to cook. I don't have an illustrious kitchen to cook with. Anyway, got about half a cup of water here. Like a pinch of flour, maybe 2 pinches of flour. My hands are big, so if you need to get a little bit more. We'll put a little bit of salt into this too, not a ton. This time we're gonna do the baby pat. I don't know, less than a tablespoon maybe. And some sugar. Just a nice big pinch of sugar. I don't know, maybe half a tablespoon or so. All this stuff's gonna mix together. We're gonna brush it on top. Brush it on top of the bread before we bake it so that it locks the moisture in, gives it a nice seal. Takes a little bit to get the flour, it clumps up in the water, so you just kind of like gently whisk it for a bit. I have a whisker. Oh, I haven't used it much for anything. Let's check this whisker out. Oh yeah. Got it cheap, and I was like, man, I don't have a whisker. Let's whisk it. Oh, look at that. Yeah. It's exciting when you finally like find a use for something. I don't like to buy a lot of things. Like, I waited like 3-4 years to buy this whisker. I was like, man, I really don't need it. But look at that, it whisks flour so well in here. Now I'm grateful. cool. I could probably finish it off with a brush. I did just clean the counter too. There we go. The bread's still rising. That didn't take too long, but it's probably almost there, to be honest. We only got a few minutes, and since we're trying to keep it as real time as possible, we'll keep it as real time as possible. Bring that bread over flat. Now the second rise, I don't know. I mean, it's necessary. It's definitely necessary. But in my experience, like it's not a deal breaker. I like to clean everything as soon as possible. Just clean it, dry it if you have to. If you don't want to dry it, don't dry it. I don't use a dishwasher. I find it to be easier to just do things immediately. Plethora of kitchen towels, I'll tell you that. That always comes in handy. So we do have our oven preheated to 500 degrees. I'm going to put this on the top rack in my oven. I feel like it works better than the bottom rack. Everybody's oven is different, so that might not work for yours. We made that mixture. They puffed up just a little bit again. It's fine. I'm not worried about the extra couple minutes to puff them up again. We're definitely going to smash them back down. They do puff up. And see, they get bigger as we go. I know they were like super mini when I first started, and they should puff up higher when they bake. And they might touch each other, bake into each other a bit. We'll see. Actually, those are pretty good. They rose pretty good that second time around. So now we're just gonna be generous with this wash that we just made with the sugar and the salt. It's gonna be generous with it. We're gonna put that in there at 500 degrees, and we're gonna bake them for. I'll check them at 16 minutes, and then we'll see what they look like. You want them to be nice and golden brown, but you don't want to burn them. And I can't say that this comes out perfect every single time I make it, but I do the best I can. And it goes in this stew too. I'm making a stew with this time. There's a video on that as well. I'm going to try and link them together. I thought I'd make them separate so that every time I made stew, I didn't have to make this whole bread part of it too. I just figured the bread's always going to go with stew in my videos. So there's a couple of different stews that I do, and this bread will always be used. Fabulous for stew. Well, like I said, you can make a sub out of it. It's a little bit different than your regular sub. I think it's really unique. Like when I make a roast beef sometimes, not an Italian beef. Oh, the Italian beef. Now you got me thinking about different things. This is why I'm making the videos. There's so many things that I can pull from through my lifetime that I think should be shared. And I think sharing is caring, and hopefully people will be like, this is cool. Tell their friends. Hey, I don't know much about cooking, but this guy makes it look easy. And now I make it look easy. The whole point is that you should be able to make it look easy. You give it a couple of whirls here and there, and you'll be like, man, I make this look easy. Maybe you'll do what I do. I'm also not one of those people that's like super perfect about it. Like, this is real to get. Like, we're learning together here sometimes. I got like experience putting these videos out, but if something goes wrong, it's going to be on video. I'm not just going to throw the bread out and then figure it out. No, we live and learn together. That's what life's all about. Okay, so these have been washed. They're very generously washed. Maybe I could put a second coating on. Maybe just I don't want to dribble it on, but sometimes you can just dribble it on a little bit, I guess, to speed up the process. I know you dudes out there be like, why don't you just pour it on? And you can. It'll be fine. Just don't overdo it on one piece, that's all. I know there's always a fast way. Men likes things faster. I guess I sort of do too. But anyway, this will kind of pour around in the pan too. And what that does in the pan, which, it'll add the crisp loaf top to it. So a lot with the brown, and a lot of people say that's kind of how you steam it. They put it in a separate pan, but I just do it all in the same pan. All right, let's frame this for the oven. Okay, we're all turned around. That would be the stew, by the way, that we're working on at the same time here. That stew smells so good. We're just gonna go ahead and push these all the way into the back. And I'm gonna put a timer on for 16 minutes. And then I will peer into there once we get there. And I'll go ahead and give you another look at what they should look like. I'll try and get closer into the oven for that shot. We'll be back in a few. All right, so we're back. And we're gonna take a look at this bread, about 16 minutes in here, see what it looks like. Oh my gosh, look at that bread. See that golden brown color? That might be perfect. Okay, that might be perfect. Let me get this set up. And try and get those suckers out of there so that they can cool. Oh man, they look good. I was hoping they'd come out good. Obviously, for y'all, everybody watching, to try and, it would be nice if they came out good, right? Oh, look at that perfect golden brown top. Oh, look at these little boats. They're beauties. They're absolute beauties. They will take some time to cool off. You don't want to eat them right away, but man, if you crack one of those suckers open right now, you would see the steam and the perfect pocket that we're looking for. In fact, I might be able to do that, or they're gonna be so hot, but I gotta try. It's like so hot. And see the bottom, perfect. It's not burned. Oh my gosh, I am so happy with how this came out. But can we get one open just for the, look at that perfect pocket and the steam. The fluffiness, this is gonna be the tenderest, chewiest bread you've ever had. It's so good. So good. Look at it. Oh my God. Well, anyway, that's the perfect bread. Like I said, the old name for it, Samoon. The new name, we're just gonna call it the boat bread. Kids are gonna love it. Adults love it too. Goes great with the stew that we got on the stove right there and some rice. I'll link all the videos together. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I'm so glad that it came out perfect, and I can't wait to taste it. It smells so good. Thanks for everyone coming down to Joe's Corner featuring the Shirtless Chef.